Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points, joined on this fine Sunday afternoon by you guys. It is a football Sunday. My Vikings took care of business. To those of you who root for the Rams, I am sorry. I was chuckling. I was texting Pete. I was like, man, it's really funny that the two games would go the way that they did, given that he and I had the conversation we did on Friday about what the Vikings have done to me as a fan, and my at one point consideration of being a Rams fan. So that's been funny. If it makes you feel any better, I benched the Vikings defense in both of my leagues this week. So, and I was kind of chuckling as I was setting up the show. I was like, man, could you imagine how podcaster me would yell at football manager me on a show after making that boneheaded decision? So that's a thing that happened. So today on the show, though, we're going to be talking about almost making it through the desert. That is August and September. We will preview some key days to keep in mind or keep an eye on this week, starting with JJ Redick and Rob Pelinka getting ready to speak to reporters, I believe, on Thursday. I got a mailbag question this week asking about the Great Western Forum. We have some news on that front. And then we will dive into the mailbag in its full glory after I get to those kind of show notes. So busy show here. Not sure how long we'll stick around. We have two lowdowns that I have to get out and record for you guys tomorrow. And we will go ahead and dive on in. So yeah, starting with getting through the desert and what is on the other side of it. Quick reminder, please do hit subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcast, preferably on Odyssey, as I am a company man. If you guys are watching right now live on Twitter, head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge to find the show there. If you guys are watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. Those help us quite a bit. And then no matter where you're watching or listening, no matter what, hit that share button. Whether it's actually hitting that share button on your phone or on your computer or wherever, or in a more meta sense, where you tell your friends about the show. So all of that good stuff helps the show quite a bit. We appreciate it. Let's go. All right. So I am recording this on a Sunday, early evening, my time, afternoon, your guys' time, probably there on the Pacific Coast. We are, so tomorrow is Monday. That would put us at exactly 1 week away from Lakers Media Day. And then training camp is on the other side of that. We have on Thursday a joint presser between JJ Redick and Rob Pelinka. That'll be interesting to listen to. And I'm really curious because, as I've said kind of all off season, I haven't heard that JJ Redick was as involved in putting this roster together as he was in years past. This year was much more of a Luka Doncic offseason than it was a JJ Redick offseason. So I'm kind of curious how that's going to be spun and what kind of questions that the local beat will have there for those two. And then, we know how Rob Pelinka likes to attach people to various moves that the Lakers make. And I'm really curious how he's going to do that this time around. So that'll be interesting. On the other side of that presser and media day, you have training camp. And, there's some interesting storylines to keep in mind or keep an eye on in training camp, right? Who's looking better between Marcus Smart and Rui Hachimura? Who's going to get the starts, right? at the onset of the season, who, man, what the hell? That was weird. Who, like, what's Vando look like? What kind of role is he going to have here? Has Dalton Connect taken a few steps forward that he desperately needed to if he wants to stay in the rotation? How is Gabe Vincent looking? How is Maxi Kleba looking? Can they be more than just expiring contracts heading into the season? You know, what is, as far as like from practices and scrimmages like that, what is it looking like? What's the offense looking like with Luka and Austin and LeBron? How's the defense looking, right? Because we know that the Lakers are probably going to struggle a little bit on that side of the ball. What is Deandre Ayton up to? What does he look like this season? Given everything that is riding on him, taking a major step forward in his career to kind of revive it. So this this presser between JJ Redick and Rob Pelinka, I think there's going to be a ton to learn from there. When it comes to media day, the following week, I always kind of look back on 2 years ago's media day, where everybody was on the same page. Everybody was really excited, talking about continuity. Man, what is wrong with me? My apologies. Miles has taken up the really cool new habit of climbing into our bed at like 1:30 in the morning. He's growing a ton right now, both mentally and physically, and it is taking a toll on me and the wife. But anyway, so the other thing that I look back on, or the thing that I look back on from a couple of years ago at media day, was how everybody was talking about continuity. Everybody is on the same page. Everybody is really excited about the upcoming season from that perspective, and how Darvin Ham just didn't get those memos, apparently ignored those emails, and trudged right along that season with Torian Prince and Cam Reddish at the top of his priority list. And it really just kind of goes to show how important it is for everybody, top down, to be in lockstep, on the same page, all of that good stuff. I'm really curious what LeBron's media day is going to look and sound like. Is he going to try to play off all of the noise that he created over the summer? Or is he going to double down on it and say that, well, they're going in this direction and my career is kind of going in a different one? Are we going to get confirmation of the stuff that I've been talking about, how LeBron and Luka and Austin have been talking over the course of the summer? So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting week here as we get ready for training camp. And as we approach it, I do think we're going to start getting some morsels, some, news droplets here and there. And then I think the faucet will open back up probably starting Wednesday or Thursday. So big, important, fun week looking ahead. We just about made it through this desert, guys. Speaking of desert, and speaking of things that we have, gaps that we have missed. So I can't obviously go into full detail here, but Great Western Forum was supposed to be a monthly episode, or it was a monthly podcast where we get, a Pete and Jovan and myself, and then a rotating cast of guests outside of that. And that was the original vision, was to get us together every month and tackle whatever larger scale topics happen to be at the forefront of everybody's minds at the time. And sometimes life just happens. So between all three of us, frankly, we weren't able to keep up with that schedule. We all had things going on over the course of the summer, but starting this week, I won't say which day specifically, because you have to wrangle. Think of it this way: every time we record a Great Western Forum, Pete and Jovan and I have to get together to get our schedules together to record our half of the show. And then on top of that, we have to make our schedules work with at least two other guests to make the second half of the show work. And sometimes, it's just kind of difficult to do. So this week, knock on wood, looks like we have it all kind of sorted out. We should be able to get back to it. But sometimes you just never know. I literally woke up today and the back of my throat started feeling scratchy, and I'm like, really? We went the whole summer and now we're back here. So um yeah, we'll see. Hopefully this week we will get back to doing the Great Western Forum, and then from there on out, the plan is to do it at least once a month. And then the plan, actually, even further than that, is to try doing some in-person stuff too, potentially with at least the three of us, whether it's recording a show in front of an audience or just going and watching a game with you guys and hanging out that way. Yeah, I think hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, all of that stuff is a little bit behind us, and we can get back to that schedule. All right, let's see. So that, I think, is going to do it for the housekeeping that we needed to do before we dive into the mailbags. A reminder: the best way to get your questions or topics covered on the show is to leave them in the form of a 5-star review on iTunes. Second best way is to leave it in a super chat here live. Third best way is kind of a tie between, well, no, I would say third best way is to reply to my tweet asking for questions there. And then finally, after that, if you leave a comment here live that I see a question mark on, I try to get to a few of those over the course of the show as well. Let's start, though, with the iTunes mailbag, starting with Aussie EX, who wrote, quote, "The hook Anthony and Pete break down the Clippers scandal is all the reasons I enjoy this show. Addresses the billionaire angle to the Clippers scandal in a down-to-earth way, but also that the league has dropped the Hayes investigation. Nice behind-the-scenes moments from Anthony and Pete." Thank you very much. That means a lot. It's you know what? I got to say, shouts to the Clippers, man. They honestly really helped get us through August and September almost single-handedly, at least the last couple of weeks. The Clippers have really helped us out there. Numbers are looking good. We are ready to hit the road running, or the ground running, in this upcoming season, in large part because y'all have hung out to watch us kind of have our fun with that story and with those plot lines. So yeah, shouts to the Clippers. Thank you for enjoying that show. I've loved being able to record, regularly, even semi-regularly, with Pete again. It has been absolutely incredible. Shouts to Odyssey for helping making that happen. Shouts to Pete and Darius and Jovan, and for that matter, for entrusting me and Odyssey and coming along here for the ride with us. So that's been great. Had a great show with Jovan recently too, that I hope you guys enjoyed as well. And yeah, now that we're kind of getting closer to the season again, I'm going to start, really hammering out the details on how we can make all of those things happen even more frequently. So yeah, good stuff, everybody. Next question here comes from Viva Exceptionalism, who writes, "Anthony, the Kawhi issue is not the no-show contract. If he had done almost anything, that wouldn't be an issue. No player will be that stupid again. The issue is the Clippers investing in companies whom their players promote. Do you see the league having a rule against that? I don't. Also, two other questions. Why do you think the Lakers are particularly against you? Do you prefer Carnitas Barbacoa or Birria? Great job as always. Thank you very much." Let's see. Oof. I would probably go Barbacoa. That's probably my favorite. But birria, like a good birria taco where it's, cooked in the grease and dipped and it's a little crispy. Like, I think birria has like the highest ceiling there. Um, Carnitas, they get dry really easy. Unless you eat them like right after they have finished cooking. Um, like you wind up having to drown carnitas. Like it's not quite the same. Barbacoa, like the flavors, like you could get away with a barbacoa taco with like a, even a mediocre salsa, and that taco is going to be great. So I'd probably go barbacoa, birria, carnitas, but my favorite is carne asada. Like that's the best stuff. That's as good as it gets. Lengua also gets a vote here. Do you see the league? Or so I'll go back in order after that though. So the issue with Kawhi is not the no-show contract. No players will be dumb enough to do that again. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a first, right? That level of no-showedness is a first, and I think it'll be the last. I do think it was really fishy that the Clippers were investing in a sponsor. That's not normally how sponsors go, right? Like, if I believe right now we're sponsored by Underdog, and like I'm not in, like that's not, I invest in Underdog, and that like I keep on giving giving them my money with my picks, but I'm not keeping Underdog afloat so that they can sponsor me. That's not really how sponsorships are supposed to work. That was definitely a really bright red flag in a long series now of bright red flags. And I think that one should probably be the kind of nail in the coffin. But given the way that the reporting is gone, and given the league's likely response to all of this, which is to say a lot of people don't really expect Adam Silver to do enough about this, we'll see. I am a little skeptical. And then, all right. So why do you think the Lakers are particularly against you? Um, well, look, I don't want to be the story here, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but it's a couple of things. One, I call it like I see it. And two, I call it like I see it, and I don't need the access. So because I'm out here in Texas, and because I can continue covering the team from out here in Texas, and don't really necessarily need to speak to players, don't really necessarily need to speak to Rob or to JJ. It makes it difficult for them to control the narrative with me. Um, I do hope that, because living out here in Austin, I'm a couple hours from Dallas, couple hours from San Antonio, couple hours from Houston. The hope here is to get out to the games out there in those markets again, and have more conversations with people there. But it's not something that like I need to have happen in order to continue reporting on this team. And that makes them nervous. One of the ways that powerful people have been able to manipulate the media in recent years is by granting access or not granting access to those parties that they don't feel they are getting the kind of coverage that they want from. And in some cases, right, make that will influence how they are covered by those parties who need that access to that entity. And in this case, though, with the Lakers, I don't really need that. Show goes on, whether I have just spoken to Rob Pelinka or not. The show goes on, whether I was in a scrum after the game or not. If anything, it's easier to do the show on nights where I'm not in a scrum, because I can just go live right after the game is ended rather than having to wait for said scrum. I do think there's obviously value in going and covering the team and asking questions, whether it's on the record or off. But yeah, and end of the day, like I think it's the combination of the fact that, I don't really hold back in my opinions, and the fact that I don't have to hold back in my opinions because um, there is this concern for blowback by way of access. So that would be my best guess. And it's not changing anytime soon. Next question here comes from let's see. Oh yeah, we're all right. We'll dive into Twitter. So I already answered the question from Tam, the pessimist, asking when the next episode of the Great Western Forum is. It's this week. I won't say specifically which day this week, but it'll be this week. Tyler Nizinski asks, do you think the Lakers are currently constructed can win the championship even if Luka is playing at an MVP level? No. Short answer, no. I don't think their centers are good enough yet. I don't trust Jackson Hayes to play rotation playoff minutes. I'm nervous about banking on Deandre Ayton figuring it out, even though I do believe in the incentive structure and the talent and all of those things. I am dubious that over the course of a season, let alone over the course of a playoff run, that he is going to be consistently as good as he would need to be for the Lakers to win a championship. So I do kind of think at some point this season, I know the focus has been on Wiggins and other wings and stuff like that, but I do kind of wonder if over the course of the season, the Lakers kick the tires on center upgrades as well, to see if they can inject a little bit more consistent talent, and predictability into that position than they're currently heading into the season with. Outside of that, like I do think they're a wing away, and we have to see what the offense looks like if Austin and Luka and LeBron actually try to work together. If they do, cool. Then we're talking about a really good team. If they don't, and it's a your turn, my turn thing, or your turn, my turn kind of a thing, I don't have the best of feelings of what that would result in. So I do think work needs to be done. I also think like part of this isn't even about the Lakers specifically. The Oklahoma City Thunder are going to be really good again this year. I think Denver really improved this year. We'll see what Houston looks like with Kevin Durant there as well. At some point, you have to figure at some point that the Golden State Warriors are going to put together an actual pro roster, an NBA roster. They legally have to. So we'll see how long this Kuminga stalemate or staring contest takes. But yeah, I think as currently constructed, I don't have them winning a championship this year, but I don't think this is how they will be finally constructed by the end of the season. I think we'll see a couple of tweaks by the end of the season that makes us feel a lot better about the Lakers' chances. All right. The next question here, Lakers fan or at Lakers fan BDA writes, Deandre Ayton was in attendance at the Breath of Life Ministry Sabbath service yesterday. Here's the pastor praying over him. What would you consider a good season for him? I don't know anything about Ayton's faith. I do think people finding faith can be a very good thing, and it can offer direction to people who need it. So, congratulations to Ayton if he did find some faith there, or is going back to faith. I don't know. Like I said, his relationship with spirituality or anything like that. Not really my place to know it, frankly. I yeah, I sometimes wish I was a little bit more spiritual or religious. And there are other times where I look at religion has done to some of my friends and family, and I say, yeah, that's why I'm not very religious. But at the end of the day, though, I do think there's a lot of value there, and if he can, kind of harness faith and habits and stuff like that, then awesome. Good stuff there for DeAndre Ayton. As far as like what a good season would look like for DeAndre Ayton, I would say a good season would be like 15 points a night, 10 boards a night, 11 boards a night, maybe more. Maybe like anywhere between 3/4 of a block to a whole block a night. Keeping people out of the paint and making them uncomfortable when they're in the paint. I think one thing, like here's a better way of answering the question. If at any point this season we're having a conversation about whether or not Ayton should or shouldn't opt into his player option next year. It's been a bad year. So for me, it's like all I want from Ayton is to be good enough for it to be a standing joke that maybe, just maybe, he won't pick, or maybe he might pick up that player option. If we at any point seriously consider that it might make more sense for Ayton to pick up that player option, then things went bad, and I would really prefer to avoid that. All right. At Not Nisha writes, what is your opinion on Robert Ory saying if the Lakers were smart, they would sign and trade Austin Reaves next summer? Isn't there a risk he could walk for nothing to a team with cap space? So yes, I mean, I think that's part of the reason that we have to seriously consider trade scenarios with Austin this upcoming season, not even getting to next offseason, because you could lose Austin for nothing. And if you go from Austin being like your most valuable trade asset, not winning anything with him on your roster, and then losing him for nothing and basically squandering that trade asset in a matter of a year or so, then that is really poor asset management. I still think end of the day that he's going to opt out and he's going to sign like a 3 or 4 year deal or a 2 year deal with a third-year player option, in the range of 32-ish million bucks a year and then going up from there. But look, it like, so here, I actually pulled up Robert Ory's quote. Here's what he actually said. Quote, if the Lakers are smart, they would do a sign and trade. And the reason I say that is because when you have a team with two players who are pretty much the same, meaning Luka and AR, I'm not saying they have the same skill set. They play the same position, pretty much do the same thing. It's a wash. Don't get me wrong. I love AR, but you don't need two of the same players, end quote. So what he's essentially saying there is that there's a little too much overlap, especially offensively, between Luka and Austin. And there's probably too much overlap defensively in that, like, you kind of need to hide both of them in high leverage moments. And that makes it kind of difficult to, raise or reach your ceiling. If you have that much overlap between two guys who, again, by the way, Luka's going to be making 50 plus million bucks a year. Austin, I just talked about, is expecting a deal in that 30-ish million buck a year range. That's $80 million to two guys who there are real questions, I think fair questions, about their fit together moving forward. So, between the fit concerns and the possibility that he signs elsewhere, that does make me a little nervous. And I do think it's, the Lakers to this point, if anybody is asked about Austin Reaves, they've basically just kind of done like the, no, you're good. You're not getting him kind of a deal. And I get it. He's a very popular kid within the organization. I say kid only because I'm older, but he's a very popular dude within the organization. He has improved every year. He has been a Laker. He has done everything that they have asked of him. The Lakers and his agent have a very good relationship at this point too, and that tends to help as well. So as far as he's done everything that the Lakers would like him to do or would have liked him to do. So in that regard, it's kind of difficult to trade somebody like that who is that popular, who has improved, who is this great story. And then, if you trade him, is Austin worth more to you than he would be to a different team? What does that trade even look like? Do you trade him in more of a 1-for-1 for fit concerns? Do you hold off on trading him so that you can maybe eventually put him in a larger trade package for somebody who's a little closer to stardom, legitimate stardom? All of those things kind of come into play here. and they're only made more complicated by the fact that Austin could, after this season, opt out and walk somewhere, and then you lose him for nothing. And that would be pretty devastating as far as like the Lakers asset management. So and it's because of that I think he'll probably sign a respectable contract. Um Probably not into too far into the future, simply so that they can maintain some flexibility there. But he is somebody that the Lakers would like to have around for a while. I think he would like to sign a 2 or 3 year deal so that he can be a free agent one more time before he turns 30. And I think that would be something that the Lakers would be open to as well. But I essentially I'm agreeing with Robert Ory, that the Lakers have to consider trading him. And I agree that the overlap is a factor here, but to me, the much greater factor is the asset management. Like, you extend him or you sign him to a new contract so that you don't lose him for nothing. And this isn't the Kuminga situation here, where like it basically with Kuminga, it's only Joe Lacob that likes Kuminga in that organization. In this case, it is everybody that likes Austin, and they would like to keep him around, and he would also like to be around longer term. So I don't think he's going anywhere. If trade talks start up, it would be for it would be for a player who recently made an all-star game, is in their prime, heading towards an all-star game here soon. That's the kind of player that the Lakers are looking for if they do move Austin. Let's see. The next question here comes from, is the new Lakers owner capable of setting up no-show jobs so we can get some cap relief like our competition, or is he too timid and risk averse? Well, look, I mean, you see the way that the Dodgers have spent over the years. Timid isn't really a word I would associate with Mark Walter or anybody associated with the Lakers. Now, the Sparks are run in a very different way, and I would hope that the Lakers would be run a lot closer to the Dodgers than the Sparks. As far as like the timidness and risk averse nature and stuff like that, if the Dodgers are a little bit more timid, it won't be because they are like inherently risk averse. It'll be because the league will be looking like Eye of Sauron close for like, you know, how the type of extracurricular activity that might take place outside of the cap structure. And the Dodger or the Lakers and the rest of the league might be very, very, very nervous to do anything that doesn't absolutely tiptoe that line of that the team shouldn't be willing to cross. Does that make them risk averse? I guess, but I think everybody is going to be very risk averse because of everything that we now look. I say all of that, but if the Clippers get off with a slap on the wrist, then I don't think the Lakers will be risk averse at all. I don't think any of these owners will be very risk averse at all because they just saw some pretty damning evidence result in nothing here with the Clippers so far, right? If they aren't charged with anything all that serious. So yeah, I would say that I think the Lakers and Mark Walter and new ownership and whoever they bring in. Like, I was listening to the LFR pod the other day, and they were talking about the chances that the sale impacts the Lakers this season. And one of the points that Pete kind of made was how, technically speaking, the new owners could step in and start to invest in the structure and the infrastructure of the Lakers, to give these people who are now kind of working to keep their jobs, give those people the the proper resources necessary so that, like, whether they come up short or succeed, you know, it's not because they didn't have enough to work with. I think you know, I can kind of see why Pete would feel that way, but I think that like the league would prefer that Mark Walter wait. And I think just as far as like how I would kind of operate, I wouldn't invest into a company until I know that I've signed the contract and I've definitely, because what happens, like, so let's say, and not and we're talking about an infinitesimal possibility here, but like let's say Mark Walter throws money all over the place, goes and hires a big scouting staff, goes and hires a bigger analytics department, expands the literal building that the Lakers work in to fit more people, does all of these things to build out the organization. And then the league looks at the structure of the sale or the literature of the sale and goes, "Ooh, this isn't quite right. No, you guys can't buy this team." Well, then what, right? Does Walter pull back those resources? Do the Lakers get used to working with those resources? All of that stuff. So I don't know that you know, I think that the Lakers have made a couple of hires recently that might point to Walter making his splashes and stuff like that. But I don't think anything that we would feel as fans very tangibly. I don't think anything like that is taking place until the sale is 100% finalized. The league also is going to at some point have a very real conversation with Jeannie and with Mark Walter to outline or for at least for Jeannie to make the case that she should be able to continue on as controlling governor. Um, and and I'm a little dubious of how that would go, given how some of these other situations have played out. So once that is figured out, once the sale is finalized, all of that stuff, then I think we'll see some of those resources, and then after we see that stuff, that's when I think we'll have a pretty good gauge on how timid or reckless or you know whatever adjective you want to use there for how the Lakers operate there. Um, you know, we'll see what that looks like. You know, probably not till later in Q4 of this year or earlier in Q1 of next year. All right, let's go through your guys' comments here. Maestra asking, how old is Mark Walter? I think he's in his like 60s. Mark Walter age. Lakers. Yeah, he's 65. Mark Walter is 65 years old. Let's see. Johnny, please Mark Walter, trade Reaves. I don't understand where a lot of y'all come from on that. Like I truly don't. Like so I wrote about this for Clutch Points the other day and again, I'm going to narrate that either tonight or tomorrow for the pod, but essentially where I landed on that was like I think too many Lakers fans have taken this like a step too far in analyzing Reeves' game in that like the Lakers have kept on asking Austin to like, you know, do more, right? His responsibilities keep growing on both sides of the ball. At one point last season, he was in charge of initiating the offense. He was one of the Lakers' primary creators. And on top of that, he was asked to guard the other team's best perimeter player. And that is just way too much responsibility for Austin Reaves. I like Austin, but he is nowhere near that level of player. And this game suffered. And now, like, I am not going to hold it against Austin that he wasn't able to make that work, when in reality, it was dumb of the Lakers to think that he could make it work or to even try having him make that work. That is like, that's a Kobe rule. Like in Kobe's prime, he was one of the Lakers' perimeter initiators and, you know, perimeter creators, whether it was for himself or somebody else. And he would go out there and he guard the other team's best player. And it's like, that's one of the things that I really respected about Kobe was that he was able to do that, because it's really only a handful of players ever who have been able to do that. I'm sorry, Austin Reaves is not Kobe Bryant. He is not Michael Jordan. He is not LeBron James. He is not these players who were able to do those things. And I'm not going to hold it against Austin Reaves for not being LeBron James. That it just doesn't make any sense. So, like when I hear or I see fans like, "Oh, just trade this guy for whatever you can," it's like you're going to make your team worse. If you just trade Austin for the sake of trading Austin, and you trade him because he wasn't able to be a primary offensive initiator and a primary defensive point of attack presence, then like you're trading him because the Lakers were dumb and put him in dumb spots. And I just don't think that's very good process if that's what you're looking to do. All right. All right, well, but even there, all right. So that's why he should have taken 20 million a year, not decline and look for 30 to 40 million. He's nowhere near a two-way player. You're right. He's not a two-way player. He's a full-time NBA player. I know that's not what you mean. But look at, all right, go through the number of players who were making that like 30 to 35 million dollar a year range, right? And you're going to find a handful of players who have questions on one side of the ball or the other. The only players who don't have real questions that really impact the team on either side of the ball are max or super max players. And I know that like it's just how this goes societally and in terms of the economy within the NBA, where we just squeeze out. Like if you aren't a star, you have to take whatever pennies that you can possibly get. And I guess, but again, look at who Austin's economic peers would be in this range. Look at that list and then come back to me with the number of players who don't have legitimate questions either on offense or on defense. And that didn't stop those players from making that amount of money. And it's not going to stop Austin from getting a good offer from a team whenever he opts out of his contract. That's how that's going to go. Now, whether you would be comfortable with it, like I do have some questions, and this is going to be something I just talked about this a few minutes ago. I do have some questions about what it'll look like or what it could look like with Austin and with Luka making a combined 80 something or 80 plus almost $90 million a year combined between the two of them. That does make me a little nervous. But at the end of the day, though, it's like if you just trade Austin for the sake of trading Austin, or if you risk lowballing Austin and losing him for nothing after you lowball him, then you're fucked. Then you're screwed. You aren't just going to find an Austin Reaves walking along the sidewalk after you let actual Austin Reaves walk. That's the, like, I am telling you, you'd be cutting off your nose to spite your face. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's like there are too many Lakers fans who are holding Austin Reaves to far too high a standard. And by the way, I think the Lakers are partially to blame for that. I think they're partially to blame for it because of the leaking that they do and the way that they talk about Austin and trade rumors. I do think they could be a little bit more realistic there, not trading him for the sake of trading him in the way that some of these other people are willing to trade him. But I think you have that going on. He's white, and that's going to create a whole other set of issues, whether the people who have a problem with him are white or black, or, he's overrated because he's white. And I think he gets underrated because he's white. Like you have that going on. You have the role that the Lakers put him in, I think gets him into trouble sometimes too. And look, he's not a perfect player. Like he did need to improve on his strength this year. I do think his shot can be a little slow to, and that stops him from being the catch and shoot threat consistently that I think the Lakers need him to be. There's he doesn't have the athleticism to just burst right by anybody whenever he wants. But he's also still really good. And we do this thing a lot in all walks of life where we get annoyed that something isn't something else and we hold it against that thing for not being that other thing. Whether it's TV shows, I would like this TV show is a little bit closer to this. Well, okay, but is this show good? Did you enjoy this show? And we don't, we don't have those conversations as much, right? Man, I'd really like this meal if it was a little spicier. Okay. Yeah, I say that all the time. But it's like, okay, but is this meal still good? It's fine. You could say that. Like Austin is a good basketball player. He's a good NBA player. Is he good enough to be the second best player on a championship team? Probably not. But there are plenty of guys who would be making 30 to 35 million bucks, especially as the cap increases, who would be the third best player on their teams. LeBron and AD just won a championship where AD was the second best player on the team and he was making 40 something million bucks a year. Right? This upcoming season, the hope here is that LeBron would be the second best player on the team. And he's going to be making 53 or something million dollars a year. So like if LeBron slots in as your second best player and Luka is playing at an MVP level, and now you have Austin as your third best player. And by the way, the 30 to 32 million dollars this season or a season, that's not a thing that we have to worry about till next year. Austin's on this contract right now. That's why I've been telling you guys that it's so important for the Lakers to go for it now. And by the way, if you trade Austin while he's making this amount of money, you aren't going to get back the bang for your buck that you would be hoping for, in terms of the type of player that comes here in return. So you're almost better off paying Austin after this season so that if you do decide to trade him, you can bring back a player who makes a little bit more, who would inherently be better than the 12 to $15 million a year player that you would have to trade Austin for this season. That's how it all goes. That's how the CBA works. And I'm sorry for the rant there about Austin, but I just think that the conversations about this kid, dude, whatever we want to call him, have been really dumb this season. And they have a lot more to do with what the Lakers asked of him unrealistically than anything about Austin specifically as a basketball player. All right. I think that is going to do it. I'm going to get back out there, help the wife with the kids, and enjoy the rest of my Sunday. Hope you guys do the same. Yeah. RoboCop, AR is going to be the next D'Lo. Good offensively during the regular season, but struggles during the playoffs due to physicality. Not a winning player as long as we have Luka, LeBron, and Rui. Perfect. That is exactly the way. That's like the exact response that I needed there to kind of prove my point. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your Sunday. Make somebody else's. I will talk to you tomorrow. We'll have some fun guests lined up. We're going to continue this contender series, and we're probably going to laugh a little bit more at this Clippers thing, get us through the next few days. And then we have Rob and JJ's presser to talk about. We have Great Western Forum coming up. Fun week, fun stuff ahead. Let's get to it. I'll talk to you then.